Hello everyone, welcome back to shore. I had a different video I was gonna upload, but didn't end up uploading it on the channel. Uploaded it on Facebook. So it's on the Facebook page, but it's not on the channel. It seems silly to put it on the channel now, but I'm still sick. I was sick. Got sick a week ago. Cold. Peyton got sick. Went to a family Easter thing, and I don't know. Someone had something. One of the kids probably. I passed it to everyone. It's like everybody's gotten sick, both with flu, stomach flu, and colds. Weird. In that previous video I was gonna upload, I covered leptospirosis. I called it sporidiosis, but I think that's incorrect. Spirosis. Lepto for short. We'll just call it Lepto. Our vet. Oh. Still a turkey over there. Man, they say. No. Alright. The reason I corrected him for that is because he was being way too aggressive about barking for the situation. When you have a pack, I'll just cover this real quick. When you have a pack, you target the one that's putting off the most energy to calm things down the fastest. And he was putting off the most. So, aside from Obi, nothing new there. Leptospirosis. Our vet had told us that he's seen more cases in South Carolina recently, and he refused to not give Lepto to our puppies and their boosters. In the past, we have opted out of Lepto. We had been using a different vet that actually allows us to do that, and we'll be going back to her. The reason for that, and I'll get into more detail of leptospirosis, is because the vaccine has been known and still is known. We joined a group of people that talk about it. So we're getting more information and researching it more because we're trying to decide if we even want to give it. Regardless, y'all have to make that decision for yourselves as well, but be aware of the potentials. So the big thing, number one, is it should never be given to young puppies. It really only is more safe after they're 6 months old, but they give it along with the other boosters. Vets do. The other thing about that is that Lepto is safer when given not with other vaccines, because it tends to burden the immune system more. And when they're given all of those vaccines at once, it can cause a reaction. And it can be bad, like it can be deadly reactions. You'll see all sorts of information on it. Do your research if you want to. But we're actually part of a group now that is talking about it amongst, they are breeders, they are non-breeders, there's just people that have had an experience and the different things that they've had with it or haven't had with it. For right now, we're on the fence with it because leptospirosis, if your dog gets lepto, it can be hard to treat. Treat in the sense of it's supposed to be just antibiotics, some type of antibiotics to treat it. But it's one of those that's harder to do as of right now. And symptoms come on fast and damage comes on fast, so you have to catch it quick. Leptospirosis is typically in what people would associate with dirty water, but just water sources, period. It spreads often from cattle and rodents, and or dogs that have contact with cattle or rodents. But it's just another one of those things that's out there. So for yourselves, you have to weigh, well, do I give it? What's the best time to give it? And working with your vet, because if you don't want it done and they require it, then you're gonna have to find a different vet. Or if you want to wait to give it, I would advise waiting to give it until after your puppy is at least 6 months old, preferably an adult. Adult dogs tend to have less reactions to it. And have it given without other vaccines on top of it. Minimize possible reactions that way. Another thing is do it early in the week. So if your puppy has a reaction, or dog, you can get them into the vet or an emergency vet. Don't do it late in the week where then it's going to be a weekend. Emergency vets are always more expensive on the weekends and during the night. Our dogs always get sick over the weekend, which is aggravating as all heck. Our last emergency bill, I mean, that was $10,000. And that was on her and Sear combined. Starlight and Sear. Anyway. The other thing about the leptospirosis vaccine is, as far as people can tell so far, it only stays in the dog's system between a year and 2 years. So you're going to have to be giving it a lot. And that's concerning as well. And the reason I say that's concerning is because then you're going to be having to give this vaccine over and over that is known to potentially cause problems. And there have been people that have given the Lepto and then their dog ended up with lifelong allergies. So again, you have to weigh the risks versus, okay, how high risk is my dog of contracting Lepto? Given the area, given the frequency of seeing it in the area. The other thing is that it does not stop them from getting it. What it does is, according to the vets, is lessen the severity of it, so it's easier for them to treat. It does not stop them from getting Lepto. Period. So take that for however you want. I try to give you all this information so y'all can make the decision on what you want to give your dogs. Just know that there are risks with the vaccine. And yes, the vaccine has become more stable since it was first introduced. Contrary to what the vets and other people who are mad at anti-vaxxers, we're not anti-vaxxers, but we're conservative about them, is that the risks are still there because we're seeing people have it happen. And they can have a reaction to the vaccine 2 weeks after they've had it. So keep that in mind as well. It's not just gonna, keep an eye on them for a couple days. It could be 2 weeks later before they have a problem. And it can cause lifelong issues such as allergies or sensitive gut. We're working with breeds that already have that. So for us, we are leaning in the direction of not giving Lepto. Because given our breeds, it might be too risky. It's also far more risky to give the vaccine, the Lepto vaccine, to small breeds, to toy breeds. Because toy breeds just tend to have an issue with it. I don't know if it's their size. I don't know what it is, but they seem to have more of a problem with it. So there's an increased risk there as well if you have a toy breed. Leptospirosis, when they catch it, from what I understand, is most often deadly. That's why vets have been giving it to try and make it to where they can treat it easier. But how effective it is, like the cases of, okay, dogs with the Lepto vaccine, the survival rate versus none, I don't know. We haven't been able to find stuff like that yet. There's also the fact that just giving the Lepto vaccine could kill them. Like we've seen some breeders that gave it to young puppies and they died 3 days afterwards. So stuck between a rock and a hard place, really, in regards to that, because it seems like both vaccine and just going unvaccinated and allowing the dog to catch Lepto could kill them. So I don't really know what to think about that. We haven't decided. The other thing about Lepto is it is zoonotic, so it can be passed on to you if your dog gets it. So be careful in regards to, you know, if you've been around a dog with weird symptoms or whatever, or has been diagnosed with leptospirosis, you could catch it as well. And it spreads more easily to people than it does from dog to dog, which is really weird. No, and I've also seen cases in our reading where there was one dog that caught it, but the other one never did, or a puppy caught it and the other puppy, sibling puppy, never did. So I don't know. We're just not sure what we're willing to risk on either side yet. But until we decide, we won't be taking our puppies back to that vet to get vaccines. Because he would not let us refuse either that or Bordetella, which we don't do Bordetella. And I'm about to explain why. But I want to finish with the leptospirosis. So that's about all the information I have on it currently. We're still doing research to the best of our ability. Y'all have to decide for yourselves what you want to do. I understand either point. But just for us, I don't know that we're going to do it. That we're going to do the Lepto vaccine. But Bordetella, why do we not do Bordetella? Well, funny thing is, we had never given any of our dogs the Bordetella vaccine, which usually actually is our drops done into the nose, until Yokai and Obi were getting neutered and spayed, and they had to have it prior to their neuter and spay. And weirdly enough, our other dogs got sick from them getting it. Like, we hadn't had Bordetella up until that point, in which the other 2 dogs got the vaccine. The other dogs got sick from that. And even weirder is that it only ran through some of the Pomeranians. And we kept an eye on it, okay? We didn't just willy-nilly be like, oh, well, you'll be all right. We were checking these dogs that were sick every day. We also had them quarantined away from the other dogs. And it just spread no matter what we did. Like, it spread to the ones that were going to get it, no matter what we did. They coughed. They hacked. They sounded kind of bad sometimes. There was sneezing. But they got over it. Some of them got over it super quick. Like, one of them only had it for 2 days. And then I think it was Rogue was the worst. He had it for like 6 weeks. But they were fine afterwards. And the biggest thing about when a dog has kennel cough, aka Bordetella, is keeping an eye on whether or not it is morphing to pneumonia. That's the risk with Bordetella, because it's basically like you getting a cold, which can also turn into pneumonia, by the way. So every single day we were checking their lungs and keeping an eye on them, making sure that they weren't getting worse, that they were staying the same, and that the lungs sounded clear. And that's pretty easy to do by just putting your ear to their chest to make sure that when they breathe, it sounds normal. There's no popping, there's no wheezing, there's no increased respiratory effort. And none of them ever had any of that. They just coughed. They coughed and they sneezed and they snotted, and that was it. Just walking these dogs around while I talk. Yes, there are dogs that die from Bordetella, aka kennel cough, because they get pneumonia, and then that gets worse, and pneumonia leads to death. But I view it no different than a cold. It's really not that big of a deal. They get through it, and then they have now built immunities toward it. And it's just totally bizarre to me, okay, that our dogs were perfectly well and healthy until those ones got vaccinated for it, and then they spread it to the other dogs. And that's just the thing, is that vaccines, they're supposed to be an inert version of a virus. But the truth is it's still the virus. You are injecting yourself or the dog with a virus to force the body to recognize the virus and build immunities against it. That also means they could get sick by getting the vaccine itself. And the more unstable the vaccine is, meaning it hasn't been developed well, which is the case with Lepto. Lepto has been extremely difficult to stabilize in a vaccine form. And it still is not very stable. That is why we're still having bad reactions to it. It can make them sick because you are injecting them with a virus. The more stable it is, the less likely you will get a reaction. It's that simple. So there's always risks to either side. I don't think you can really fairly judge either decision, because either decision is fair. Because the amount of risk on either side is the same, in my opinion, for certain things. kennel cough, to me, it's not worth the vaccine for the level of risk of them contracting kennel cough. Now, if your animal is regularly going to grooming visits, boarding, regularly having to go to the vet because it has medical condition, then you might want to have it because they're more regularly being exposed to other dogs. So the chance is higher, just like, you know, kids going to school and they're getting sick all the time. The chance is higher that they could get kennel cough from another dog. So in those circumstances, you might want to do it. But for us, we just have our pack. The only times they've gotten sick is because someone's gone outside of our pack and brought something in. Or in the case of Wolby and Yokai, we vaccinated them, which brought the virus in where it had never been before and got some of the dogs sick. Although it was only the Pomeranians, which is really weird. It was like a Pom specific plague. Even our puppies, Marimo, well, no, it wasn't Marimo, it was Whisper, Brandywine. Her name is Brandywine now. Sears puppies got sick with kennel cough. Ame got sick. Rogue got sick. There was somebody else. Mushi got sick. I'm trying to remember. There was quite a few of them that got it, but I don't remember all of who got it. The puppies, they were fine. It sounded horrible listening to them cough and all that stuff, but they got over it and they were fine. And as I stated, we kept an eye on them. That's my spill on leptospirosis. We haven't made a decision for ourselves, but we are veering towards not giving it and just dealing with the consequences if one of our dogs catches it. Given the breeds that we have and their sensitivities, it might be too risky for us to do. But you guys, if y'all want to do it, take the advice that I gave. Don't give it when they're young. Wait until they're at least 6 months old or older. And have it done separate to any other vaccines and like several months after other vaccines. Because you have to think about how long it's going to take for that vaccine to take effect. And then, you know, settle down their immune system after the immune system's done fighting the vaccine. And do it early in the week. That way, if something happens, you can get to the vet or an emergency vet more easily. So just keep those things in mind for giving it. And there are plenty of people that don't have any problems at all with it. But it's like when they do have an issue with lepto, it's really bad. Excuse me. A lot of people associate it with dirty water, but the honest truth is that it could be anywhere, just like anything else. You can't live life paranoid. You can only just do your best. And do your best that if something does happen, you don't fall apart over it. Because you can't protect yourself, your animals, your kids from everything that could possibly happen. You can only do your best and live life to the fullest. That is a hard lesson we have learned. It still hurts when things go wrong, but things will always, quote unquote, go wrong because it's life. So it happens when you have things around you that are alive. Things can go wrong. So there's that. Liqueurs has been bred by 9. I mentioned that on our Facebook page in the other video about Lepto. Because I had originally stated that we may very well be giving it, but given the information we know currently, we're probably not going to, but we'll see. I will update on the Facebook page as well when we make a decision and the pros and cons of it. Just because we want to give everybody all the information we can, what we know, so you can make an educated decision for yourself. Because personally, that is what medicine should be about. It's about you making a decision on what you want to risk or don't risk, do or not do. It shouldn't be up to the vet or up to the doctor to force something on you. Because there are always risks with anything that you choose to do in medicine. And what I think is important in life is that you're happy and feel as healthy as you possibly can. So if you're happy with a decision by your doctor, by your vet, brilliant, great, that's wonderful. But if you're not happy, seek something else. Make a different decision. Whatever keeps your peace, if you want to call it that, keeps you happy is what's important. Not what everybody else thinks. That's just how I feel. Obviously, in dogs, I would never encourage, don't ever give rabies. 1, that's illegal. And 2, rabies is still a risk. Just as parvo and distemper. Those are the 3 things that we absolutely will give and do give and stay on top of in regards to our dogs. And being that we live out in the country like this, we're at more risk for that because, you know, the most common vectors are raccoons, possum, armadillo, foxes. Yeah, there's coyotes, but those other ones typically get it more often. We actually had a possum that came into our yard one time that we were thinking maybe had rabies, but I actually think it probably had distemper. We ended up putting it in a trap, and it passed away like overnight because we knew there was something wrong with it, and we were trying to just get it away from the dogs and figure out what to do with it because we didn't know, like, is this rabies? Did it get hit by a car? What was going on? It was just very lethargic and skinny, and it had really pale gums. And it clearly was having neurological issues because it just wasn't really going anywhere. And when it would go somewhere, it would kind of just go in a circle, which is very classic stuff of rabies. But it's also symptoms of distemper. And I'm pretty sure that's what it had, given that it never developed what they kind of consider final stages of rabies. It looked more like it passed away from distemper. And we removed it and cleaned everything up as best as we could. Sterilized everything. But anyway. Yeah. Dog's doing good. Of course, we will check her with the ultrasound between 16 and 20 days from last Sunday, and see if she's pregnant. But given how she's been acting so far and how the males have been treating her, it does seem promising. but we have had false pregnancies that are very similar, so yeah, we'll just see. Talk to you guys another time, I guess. I know the updates have been few and far between. We've had a lot of stuff going on here, and honestly, aside from when we have puppies, it's like, do y'all even want to see the dogs that often? Like, we're not really doing anything. Is it boring to just watch the dogs run around? Because that's about all that happens, you know. I could try to think of new topics to talk on, but I don't know if I've exhausted those topics or not, to be honest. Initially, you know, getting into breeding dogs seemed really complicated, and there were a lot of things we were learning, but it's kind of settled down now. There will always be things to learn about it, and we want to share that with you guys, the things that we learn, because we really do have a passion for this and enjoy it so much. I think I've fully decided that I'm just gonna go with the standard coats on the Huskies, because she's just so pretty, and the way she looks and all that, and you wouldn't get that same look with the longer coat. I just prefer the shorter coat on the Huskies. I feel like they look chunky and kind of weird with the long coats. And I said before that came from Malamutes anyway, the woolly coat. And they look like stranger. The way he looks compared to her, he looks more like a Malamute. Like a small one. And I don't like that. I prefer a fox steer look like her. I just prefer that look over the heavier, more Malamute look that Stranger has. I like my Huskies small. I've actually seen some that are only between like 30 and 40 pounds, and I think that's a really good size. I just like the look of them. That way versus, like, if you're gonna get a Husky, which everybody knows is a dramatic, you know, over hyperactive, troublesome breed sometimes, why would you want it to be big? That's just asking for trouble. I think Stranger is like right at 50 pounds, and Fiction's right at 40, I believe. But yeah, I just like the smaller. I like the smaller look of them, and the plush coat, more fox-like. It's just what I prefer. Everybody has their tastes. It's actually quite interesting watching different breeders, reading different breeders, like what they like and what they don't like. And every breeder has a taste for certain things. So no matter what, even if you're quote-unquote breeding to standard or breeding a certain look, every breeder has a tendency to veer towards things that they like. And I think it's rude to bash them for that, because that's like saying you're not allowed to like, you know, this type of cookie versus this type of cookie. You know, that people have tastes. People have things that they like. People have things that they like to look at, like to wear. This is no different. We have tastes in the way we like our dogs to look. There's nothing wrong with that. It's still a husky. It's still a collie. It's still a Pomeranian. People need to stop being so harsh to each other about stuff like that. It's just mean. It reminds me too much of, and we were homeschooled, so we never experienced this, but we saw it in our cousins that went to school. It reminds me too much of like young kids at school, and they're picking on each other because they think what this other kid likes is silly, and then it creates this trauma on this poor child because they just like something. And what I've seen in the breeding community, it's like a bunch of toddlers pointing fingers and bullying others just because they don't follow along with what everybody else is doing. It's sickening. If your opinion is worthwhile because it's actually for the good of the animal, all right, give it. But if it doesn't actually affect the health of the animal for the better, my opinion is keep your mouth shut. That's how I feel. Because true breeders, all right, true well-intended breeders are going to be breeding dogs for the best of their health, the dog's health and sustainability in life and functionality, versus what just looks pretty or is in the standard because it's been that way for eons for some stupid reason, instead of what's good for them. And perfect examples of that are Frenchies, all your bulldogs, some of your spaniels because of the bubble head, Pomeranians, Chihuahuas, Dachshunds that have ridiculously short legs. It's not necessarily that their back is too long. What that is from is Dachshunds have a genetic disease that causes the discs to degenerate, and most of them have that genetic disease. It's not because the back is too long. However, they do have other issues because of the fact that their legs are far too short. Like, that's just not normal. That's not healthy for the animal. If you look at them, it's not normal. They don't look like a dog, per se. Pugs, all your bracky breeds, same thing. They're not doing it for the health of the animal. They're doing it because they just like something that looks exotic or cute or whatever. It's not because the animal is healthy. And it's sad. And it's sad that people that like to breed breeds like that and breed them more extreme pick on anybody else that is trying to do what's right for the animal and breed them away from those things, because it's actually what's right for the animal and healthy for the animal. It's sad. And then that discourages and gets rid of people that actually have true passion and intent to make the breed better, even if it changes their look a little bit. It's like our Pomeranians. Okay, no, we haven't had anyone come at us yet, other than people saying things like, oh, well, your dog looks more like a Chihuahua. Just because its coat isn't as fluffy as what they imagine a Pomeranian should be. Well, guess what heavy coats do? Make them prone to heat stroke. Or the fact that everyone that purchases a heavy coated breed, they almost always have them shaved. And that also makes them more prone to heat stroke, because when you take the coat away, then it's just their skin. And that then makes them more prone to skin cancer. So we are breeding our Pomeranians to have less heavy of coat. Same with the rough collies. Easier to groom, easier to maintain. It's better for their health. They don't have to be bathed as often because the coat isn't as long and getting tangled up and matted and trash everywhere. Makes it to where they're less prone to heat stroke. And the other thing about the Pomeranians that we're doing is we're breeding them bigger, longer legs, longer snouts. Why? Because it's what's healthy for them. Having a pushed in face is not healthy for a dog. Having a little tiny bitty face is not healthy for a dog. And the smaller Pomeranians are, the more prone to health issues, because that dwarfism affects their internal organs. And it also, the biggest thing is it makes them very prone to being diabetic or having issues with their sugar. I don't know why exactly, but the smaller the Pomeranian is, the higher issue they have with blood sugar. And they can go hypo or hyper, most often hypoglycemic, and crash, and it's not good. So, you can say whatever you like, that show ring dogs are healthy. That's not necessarily true, okay? They call them that because they are to standard, and they are the healthiest, quote unquote, healthiest of their type. But the truth is that a lot of times they just ignore / look over the health issues that type of breeding has caused, because it's to the standard. You know, they don't want to change it, and they'll just look past it. Again, it's sad. It's sad that people have to be so selfish about something like that, when it should be about preserving the animal's health and beauty in a more natural way, and not controlling it to constrict it into such an unnatural form. Because they ain't no wild canine that looks anything like some of the breeds that we have. I'm not saying destroy the look of breeds. What I am saying is that a lot of breeds, particularly your brachy breeds and your short-legged breeds, your dwarf breeds, need to be bred back to be more normal for the health of them. Doesn't mean you have to entirely change the look, but we have seen people that have been breeding longer muzzles onto some of your brachy breeds, and it looks good. It looks good, and it's healthier for the animal. But then they get, attacked because they're not breeding to standard. It's like our collies. There's a certain type that we are aiming for in regards to the head and the whole body, yes, but specifically in collies, the head thing is so focused on the way the head is shaped, like obsessively so. People are always like, the head, the eyes, the head, the eyes, the way the ears sit. They're obsessed over that they do tend to forget about the rest of the body. That's why collies tend to have straighter back legs, because they aren't paying attention to the rear as much. But the thing about some of the heads that we've seen on collies is it creates a really weak and narrowed bottom jaw. And that, as we've seen in Breo, because Breo has it the most extreme, causes dental issues, and it also makes them ineffective in regards to if you wanted to do any sort of herding or other sports that involves picking up things, because that bottom jaw is weak. And over time, with Braille, the biggest thing we've noticed is that his teeth have worn down faster than any of the other dogs because of the shape of his bottom jaw. Now, he technically doesn't have ideal head type for a collie, what they consider the ideal head type. Braille doesn't. But it still is in the same what do you call it, genre of having a very narrow, slim bottom jaw, and it causes the teeth to get malformed. Fiction, get out of there! You're not supposed to be in there. That's our garden. Get out! Fiction, out! Oh, she's going out slowly. Out! Good girl. Not a good girl. Anyway, this is just, I've made this video too long. I'm gonna go now. Bye-bye. See y'all some other time. It's hot now. I'm sweating.